introduction. I never thought we'd talk about my lactose intolerance as a means for introduction. Okay, so let's get right into it. Growing up, we didn't have much. I was raised by a single mom. My brother and I, we lived in a very small 2-bedroom apartment. And, we didn't have much, but we knew not to ask for much either. But what we lacked in stuff, we more than made up for with love for each other and boundless imagination. However, on Christmas 1987, after I just turned 7, my brother and I just got a Nintendo for Christmas. Now, it doesn't show in the photo right here, but I was freaking out inside. And I'm pretty sure that my mom took the photo right before I started screaming. I was the luckiest boy in the world, and I was so grateful that I wanted to be in this moment forever. And I still show this photo, all of the time. This gift really took me by surprise. It sparked my imagination and ignited a lifelong passion for video games that I still have and that I get to share with my friends and my kids. And, the reason why I'm telling you all of this is because the feeling I got when I opened that present, it's still very, very precious to me. As a kid who didn't grow up with much, it felt like, I was opening the world. And I still remember that feeling. And it's the same feeling I get when I'm in front of all of you, right here, kind of giving this talk. This is the moment, the place where I feel the most energized. So, really, I just want to thank you for choosing to spend your morning here, for choosing to spend your time here with me. And thank you for this gift. So, let's right into it. Let's get right into it. Yeah, so thank you, hello, welcome. I'm Dom. I'm a designer, an art director, a creative director, a teacher, an aspiring screenwriter. I was an MTV VJ for a little blink, and yes, this is my real hair. But I'm currently leading the creative department at a company called Resonance. So we're an agency and consultancy based in New York City, in Vancouver, in Montreal, in Austin. We're small and mighty, and we specialize in branding and shaping the future of cities and destinations from around the world, which is super interesting. What you're seeing here is an excerpt from a rebrand of the city of Brussels, the capital of Europe, no less. So really interesting stuff. Look us up. So let's get back to this theme of vibrant here. So when I first heard about the theme vibrant, the first thing that I thought about were insects with tiny little vibrating wings chasing the light, which you can see right here. I don't know about you, but I think that as a creative, sometimes I feel like that. I'm sort of floating, just hanging around, and I'll be drawn to a source of light that's going to spark my creativity. In this case, if we zoom out, we'll see that this fly is chasing an idea, which is great. Does anybody else in the room feel a burst of inspiration and motivation when they're chasing a light? Yeah, right? Sure. That light could be a melody if you're a composer. It could be a keen observation that jumpstarts a novel if you're a writer, or an insight that sparks an idea, that sparks a campaign, that sparks a viral trend, that sparks an epidemic of teens accidentally getting hurt trying to recreate said trend, that sparks an uproar in the media, that sparks the government regulations, that spark the banning of TikTok, that spark a super great case study that wins a gold lion. Or whatever the hell that is if you're a math person. That's a lot of enumeration. But have you ever felt like you're chasing the wrong light? I sure have. Ooh. So, you can be chasing your ambition and your ego, and sure, that light's going to shine super bright, but there's not going to be any heat, is there? You can be chasing every single light that pops up, or your neighbor's light, and never commit to anything and never get anywhere. Or you could be chasing that dark, dim light of self-doubt, listening to your inner critic, and well, that never really ends well, does it? How's that for an imposter syndrome metaphor, right? Oh yeah, and also, I know we were flying, but now we're underwater, so you just gotta have to go with it. So, I think it's surprisingly easy for all of us as creatives to feel like we're aimlessly chasing the wrong light and feel lost along the way. We make the same mistakes, and we face the same issues, and we never really get anywhere. So I'd like all of you to raise your hand. I'm going to name a couple of prompts. And if you've done what I've said, just raise your hand. Spoiler alert, my hand's going to stay right up the whole time. Okay, so there's no judgment. All right, so have you ever followed your ego and never found satisfaction? Yeah? Oh wow, holy shit. I thought this was going to be gradual. Lacking focus or motivation, right? Getting caught in a spiral of self-doubt. comparing yourself to others non-stop and always finding yourself feeling like you're kind of falling short, right? Working yourself to the bone because apparently that's what you gotta do to make it, right? Making grand goals but never following on them and never really understanding why. Getting everything you've ever wanted from a job or a project and realizing you actually really hate it, right? Or ignoring your gut because it's too scary to listen to, right? So in the last 20 years I've been doing this, I've chased every single one of these lights and I got burned. So here's one thing I'd like all of you to consider. Instead of being a moth endlessly chasing a flame, why not be a firefly and be your own source of light? I got a couple of gaps. That's what I was looking for. Great. And that's why my talk today is called Follow Your Light. So what we're going to do today is find that light together. Not mine, but yours. So first, we kind of need to define what I mean by light. Your light is something that is meant to give you guidance when you feel lost, to give you motivation when things get dark, and things do get dark, and set you on a course to find balance or happiness, or however you define that sort of feeling that you get when things are going super great. Your light might be another way of saying your purpose, but purpose is pretty heavy, right? So what I want to call it is your story. Let's work together in this room today, this morning, and try to find your story. A story that you can tell, that will fill you with purpose and light your creative way. And throughout this process, I'll be sharing mine, just to guide you along. And during the Q&A or after the event, you can share yours. Do we have a deal? Does that work? Yeah? So a little bit of a disclaimer. I just want to acknowledge that before we get started, that there's two books that really helped me put this talk together. The first one is called Start With Why by Simon Sinek. Yeah, right, it's a great book. Everything I do at work or in life starts with why. And I've got a couple of people I work with and have worked with, and they're nodding right now, so great. It's my way of bringing clarity and order, to the chaos that kind of lives inside my head. Why are we doing this? Why are we having this meeting? Why is this the right solution? Why are my shoes so white? Many, many why questions. And the second book is actually a big pile of books on screenwriting. I picked up screenwriting during the pandemic, and what I found is that to tell something that's actually compelling, you can't ask yourself why. Rather, you need to ask yourself, why not? Why not set this story on the moon? Why not merge these two characters? Why not turn this argument into a love scene? Why not throw everything you've written so far into the trash and start all over again because the dialogue is really crap? So, asking ourselves why and why not is at the core of what we're about to do together. So why does this matter, right? Well, as we create, we're constantly looking for purpose and meaning. I sure know that I am. Meaning in our creative choices, what does this color mean? What does this melody mean? What does this turn of phrase mean? But also trying to find meaning on a deeper level. We want to mean something. We want what we create to mean something. So, all right. So with the time that we've got, we're going to be focused on a few things. We're going to focus on your childhood mostly. Keep the focus there because I'm running out of time. I'm 10 minutes in already. We're going to focus on childhood, draw connections between the past, the present, the future, and asking ourselves why and why not along the way. And what that will give us is the building blocks to create your story. So we'll do this in 3 parts. So we can obviously go so much deeper, right? It's called Creative Morning, and I'm not joking here. I've got a client presentation right after this. So are we all ready? Yeah? Okay, let's do this. So part 1, past. So what I'd like you to do is think of a specific memory from your childhood that defines you. Something that really made you feel happy, fulfilled. I want you to be hyper-specific. And you don't have to talk, you can keep this to yourself, you can write it on your phone or whatever. I want you to focus on the moment. It can be a moment, a memory that you had by yourself. Or it can be with family or friends, but you need to be super, super specific. It can't just be like, oh, my summer vacation. It needs to be like, to the minute, The moment needs to be super vivid in your head. Like, if you can smell it, if you can feel it, this is what I'm looking for. For me, a few came to mind as I was going through this exercise myself, but there's one that really stuck. And it's a memory that I had while playing Legos. It was summer. I must have been like 6 or 7 or 8, and I could see dust floating in the sunlight. My mom and my brother were outside, and I was trying to make the tank, the APC here from Aliens 2, a film that I was way too young to watch. And I was trying to find a way to make those big wheels. And I remember the wool pattern on the cheap rug in our living room was digging into my knees, and it hurt. But I was trying to make this thing, and I was just running out of black Legos. So this is how specific I want you to get with that memory. So spend a little bit of time trying to think about this thing, and it needs to really connect to you on a deep level. And then once you've got this memory, the question I ask for you is, as we go deeper, like what conclusion can you extract from that memory? And to help you extract that conclusion, let's ask ourselves why as many times as it takes. So why? I'll use myself as an example. Why did I pick that memory for myself? Well, I love playing Legos. But why? Well, because it allowed me to express my creativity. Okay, sure, but why? Well, because I had a million different ideas in my head every single day that needed to get out. Okay, we're getting somewhere. But why? Well, because I had a rich inner world. So boom, for me, that is the one, right? Just extracting, asking why from this one memory. So, because I had a rich inner world. Does that make sense? So a good way to make sure you've extracted the right conclusion is to ask yourself if this trait is still relevant to you today. So do I still have a rich inner world today as an adult? Hell yeah. I still have all these ideas that are itching to get out. So I'll shut up now for like 30 seconds, because this is recorded and it doesn't look good to have dead silence for too long. I'll shut up so you can take a few moments to get to the heart of your memory and extract a conclusion. So pull out your phone or write it down. So think of a specific memory from your childhood that defines you, something that made you feel really happy and fulfilled, and then extract a conclusion from it. And to make sure you've extracted the right thing, ask yourself, is this still relevant to me today? Count in my head. Count to 10. Yeah, right. Okay. Hopefully. Got some memories here. Are you all ready for part 2? Are we good to move on? Yeah? All right, part 2, the project. So what I want you to do is to think of a project that you did when you were young. And the reason why I'm doubling down on when you were young is because you didn't know any better. You didn't know anything. You were at your purest self. You were trying to figure yourself out. And so, with 20, 25 minutes, going back to your youth really brings that's it, the purest expression of yourself. So think of a project that you did when you were young, something that really motivated you, something that you're still proud of to this day. Now that last part is super, super important. So it doesn't have to be a creative project, but since this is Creative Mornings, my guess is 99% of you are going to have a creative project that's going to pop in your head. Again, here I am as a child. So, here's mine. As a kid, I made the first school newspaper. There were these super old, crappy, gray computers. They were brand new, but they were already gray and beige, computers in our computer lab room in the school. And I somehow found a way to talk my way into dodging recess. And I started working on them by myself, while people were playing with balls and things, I don't know. And I made the first school newspaper. So I wrote every article, I did the little illustrations, and I printed it and I shared it with everyone here. This right here, this is my rosebud, for anyone who's ever seen Citizen Kane. Yeah? This is the most important thing that I own. If there's a fire, this yellowing piece of paper is what I'm taking out. After I've saved my kids and all that. But I really can't tell you how important this is to me. And as you go through the Rolodex of your memories, I want you to ask yourself, why not? So pitch yourself those memories and find the one that truly resonates. So why not this project? Why not that project? Why not go here? Why not explore that thing? What does it mean to me? And you might surprise yourself as you ask and as you think about these things. And if we go deeper from there, the next question I have for you, if you summoned this memory, if you summoned this project, is asking you, how has this project impacted the way you approach creativity? In my case with the school paper, it made me realize that I didn't need to know how the tools work to make it work. I just kind of did it. And what I did with the school paper, I did it with video. I made hundreds of short films over the last 20 years with zero training in animation, in editing, and cinematography. but I just sort of make it work. I picked up an instrument and started recording music. It wasn't great, but I just sort of made it work. And just like how I decided to cut my hair one day. And I just sort of make it work, and I kept doing it. I stopped doing that. Okay, so I'll shut up again. I want you to think of a project that you did when you were young that motivated you, and try to find a conclusion that speaks to how it impacted your creativity. Oh, I'm loving this. Lots of people and thoughts. All right, okay. Yeah, trying to read the room. Do we have it? Is it there? Yeah, I've got some eyes closed. I love it. Okay. All right, so let's move on to part 3, delicately. Part 3, the inspiration. Okay, so the last prompt I have for you is to think of something that really inspired you in your youth or in your early teenage years. Not something that you did, we've talked about it already, but something that had an impact on you. Again, it's better if you think of a specific moment or ritual. It could be a song that you heard, it could be a piece of art that you saw, it could be a mentor that said one thing that really stuck. For me, it was wandering at the video rental stores looking at the back of horror VHS cassettes, to look at the little thumbnails. I did this multiple times a week. My mom was a big fan of cinema, and she gave that to my brother and I. And so every week we'd wander those alleys trying to look for something to watch, and then I'd always end up in a place where I wasn't supposed to. And I did this for years, always looking at the scary shit. So yeah, these are the 3, for real, these are the 3 things that scared me the most. So Ghoulies, Critters, and the Blob. Just the image was so vivid, right? I never saw these, I ended up seeing the Blob, but I never saw these films as a kid. But they traumatized the crap out of me, and they still do. The Ghoulies are gonna get you while you're on the toilet. I was a lactose intolerant kid in the 80s. I spent half my life on the can. You're gonna get me! I was 7 years old! This is wrong! Okay, alright, I'm done with this. I want you to ask yourself, as you think about the thing that inspired you, how has this, in my case, super weird thing inspired me or informed my creative journey or my taste level? It's up to you to ask yourself why and why not to get to the core of it. It doesn't have to be anything special, but it has to mean something, and it has to have an impact on you. So in my case, why was I attracted to horror films? That's kind of weird. Why not romance films? Why did I never read the films? Why did I react so strongly? Why not avoiding those and just staying in the Disney section? Why did I kind of like it? Because I realized that to spark my inspiration, I had to put myself in extreme or uncomfortable situations. I needed a rush, even as a kid, even if it meant seeing this horrible monster popping out of the toilet. It's what pushed me to live and work abroad, to chase those big pitches, to throw myself wholeheartedly into any opportunity at any cost. And why did I do this? It doesn't make sense. It's not comfortable. It's not always pleasant. Why not choose something that's more cushy, that's more comfortable? Well, honestly, I just don't know. I'm just wired this way, but I'm always chasing this rush. So one last time, I will stop talking and let you find that unique source of inspiration. Because something that really inspired you in your youth or your early teenage years, something that you heard, that you saw, that you experienced, that has had a lasting impact, that inspired you and guided your creative journey. More and more eyes closed. I love it. Okay, great. Let's put it all together now. Hopefully, we've got the strands of something here. So, we've asked ourselves why and why not a bunch of times, and ended up with 3 ingredients. A specific memory from your childhood that defines you, a specific project that you're proud of, and a specific thing that inspired you. And then there's 3 takeaways. How does this manifest today? How has it impacted your approach to creativity? And how were you guided by your inspiration? So if you put all these elements back to back, you'll get your story. Oh, and by the way, if you like this kind of thing, you know, like these kind of weird workshop-y question-answer things, make sure you attend my workshop at Design Thinkers in May. We're going to be going through a very similar but completely different vision quest for creative self-discovery. I worked crazy hard on this talk. I worked even, or just as hard on the Design Thinkers talk. So if you like what's happening here, you know, you can get more and something completely different. Okay, that's the last self-promotional, self-promotional thing here. So, okay, so here's my story. What we'll see, what we'll see is like basically all the things that I spoke to in this presentation so far, kind of broken down into the all the little ingredients that we talked about along the way. So here we go. Since I was a kid, I've always had a rich inner world, and even to this day, my head is still full of ideas that want to get out. In second grade, to avoid getting bullied, I found myself spending all my recess time hiding in the computer lab, where over multiple weeks, I created the school's first newspaper. I wrote every article, tried every font, I laid the whole thing out by myself, and even added illustrations. Even before I knew what design was, I was designing, and I've been designing for as long as I can remember, making things up as I go to share something with people. It's this mindset that led me to start making short films, start a band, or cut my own hair. I seek extreme situations to find my inspiration. As much as I hate to say it, I love the pressure. I get my highest rush from living abroad, and every single time I've had to push against the odds to make it work. But nothing makes me feel more alive, whether I like it or not. You know. My inner world, my scrappy attitude, my constant seeking of a challenge, these are the things that define me. So this is my light. So why does this story matter to me? You know, it's just a little paragraph that describes things that I connect with. Well, because whenever I tell it, it reminds me that my biggest asset is my imagination. It reminds me that even before I knew what design was, I was designing. It reminds me that I don't need high standards to create something from nothing and share it with the world. I just need to want to do it. And if I need to want to do it, then I'll be able to overcome any challenge and go headfirst, you know, chasing the rush. Because, you know, this story also makes me realize that when work gets really, really intense, it's kind of my fault. I chose this path. This is what I want. This is my rush, right? And I do need that rush. So, what will finding your story do for you? You know, why? Well, I find that your story, you know, if you write it down, if you go through the steps, if you write it down and if you keep looking at it and polishing it, it will give you perspective and focus when you need it. Your story will help you make more meaningful choices. It will, you know, the story belongs to you and no one else. And it will hold you accountable. There's no excuses. If you're using your own journey, your own path, your own stories, your own memories to kind of like forge a path forward, you're accountable. And that's kind of powerful in and of itself. But most importantly, your story will keep you vibrant. Your story will light your way. So now, you know my story, and I can't wait to hear yours. Thank you.
Okay, here.
You ask everybody questions.
You can decide which question is the one
Oh my.
Please
Morning,
stand
Joe.
up.
Hi.
Stand up.
Please stand up, thank you.
I wanted to find out, I went through Simon's process. My big question to you is, I only did it about 8 months ago, and it's been a guiding light for me. Do you allow yourself the space to say your why can evolve?
Oh, hell yeah. One great example is, you know, my life before kids, my life after kids. Or even my life as a kind of a solo designer and my life as a creative director, where I'm now responsible for people and I have to kind of carry a kind of a bigger vision rather than just my own ambition. So your why and your purpose changes as you grow. I think hopefully that's what should happen as well. Like we grow and we change over the years, and your purpose, your story should kind of evolve. Having said that, there are, I believe, core moments in your life that you can use as anchors to kind of inform who you are and where you want to go.
Great talk, thank you so much. My question is, what is it about your process that you really want people to know that nobody ever asked you about, and why not is it important?
Oh, that's interesting. I think that I'm very messy and chaotic all the time, and I've had to work really, really hard to be rigorous with my thinking, with my schedule, with the way I give feedback and notes, and not make it necessarily all about me, but just kind of like opening it up and asking questions and making suggestions, and it's always kind of like these weird Jedi mind tricks. So I have to Jedi mind trick myself all the time to kind of stay rigorous and stay focused. But then, there are some questions, and there are some turns of phrase that you can ask, or that you can bring up to help bring a client into the fold, for example, or to spark something in a teammate that might kind of lead to a bigger idea. So I don't know if this totally answers your question, but to me it's more like it's creating rigor, I think, in my own process to be able to help elevate others, essentially.
Hey, thank you very much for your talk. Fellow video gamer here, and I'm curious, how do you feel...
It's a stereo.
Sorry?
No, I thought you were going to ask who was my main...
Oh, got it, yeah. Thank you. It was more of a, how do you feel video games has changed the way you think about your work, and in what ways do you think it's positively impacted that? Because quite often video games are a thing that's like a thing that we do to enjoy, and I mean, growing up in a similar age, you didn't really talk about playing video games as kind of like a thing that you usually kept kind of on the hush-hush. Now it's much more open that we talk about it. So how has it impacted you, and how do you think it's brought value to your life?
It's a good question, and it's funny because, like, I loved Wolverine as a kid, okay? I used to, like, walk from my mom's place to the comic book shop to spend $2.46 that I had, like, on a pack of trading Marvel cards. Like, I used to love all this stuff, and I got really bullied for it. And now, like, the biggest movie of the summer is like Deadpool and Wolverine, it makes me kind of laugh. But I think that with regards to video games, we always kind of like put movies and TVs, especially movies, on a bit of a pedestal, right? This is the purest art form, blah, blah, blah. And there's just as much creation, just as much thinking, and just as much depth in video games. And now that we can finally kind of like render people that look like people, and play music that looks like it comes out of a symphony rather than like a 8-bit little speaker, more people are starting to see it, and more people are starting to get it. And I just want to bring them in, because it's such an amazing escape, and the memories that you make through your characters are your own. And that's insane. When I watch a film, when I watch Oppenheimer or whatever, like, it's Oppenheimer's journey, or it's Barbie's journey in the movie Barbie. Whereas when I play a game, it's me fighting off the zombies or saving the world for the 1000th time. Yeah. Hopefully that answers the question.
Hi.
Hi.
I look forward to seeing you at Design Thinkers. When you're talking about your why, how do you get yourself past the shoulds? Like, to get to the actual why?
You keep asking yourself why. It's super cheesy, but like, you just have to kind of drill, but why this, but why that? Because every time you ask why, you kind of break through your own resistance and your own barriers, because we're not, discomfort is something we avoid naturally. And so, if you keep asking, yeah, but why do I feel like this? But why this thing? And then there's going to be a point where you just can't get anywhere else, right? And that'll be that'll be the nugget, that'll be the essence, but you have to kind of go punch through those layers, essentially. And so just keep asking yourself why. Like the same thing in character development, like in screenwriting, like, why is this character doing this? Okay, but why? Well, why really? Okay, but what is the thing that they don't even know themselves? You know, just keep asking yourself why, and you'll get to a place that is kind of undeniable. Is that? Yeah. Oh, cool.
Hello. I've so enjoyed listening to you speak. Your charisma is incredible. My question to you is, what do you get out of your team that you work with at Resonance? What do you love about them?
Oh, I mean, some of them are right here, some of them couldn't make it. Oh my God, I love them. I don't want to get emotional, but no, but like, I feel like as a leader, you have to fight, and you have to show up, and you have to earn trust and respect. You know, that's not given freely, you know, and every single day you have to fight for it. And I'm definitely not perfect, but I'm definitely trying, and I get the biggest kick out of seeing people in my team grow and shine, genuinely. Don't get me wrong, I still love to be the center of attention. But when a team member really kind of like shows up and knocks it out of the park, I get, you know, it's a high that's unlike anything else. And, you know, it's silly, but walking into the office and saying good morning and having people that you care about say good morning back, and you just take your seat and feeling that you're part of this group of people, I don't know, it really fills me up.